This clip is brought to you by VegasWinners.com. Get expert sports betting advice from some of the best handicappers in the world. Head on over to VegasWinners.com and win yourself some money.
Yeah, I want to know, when did you first meet him? You know that we've talked about this story before, but that old famous vignette, and I'm sure we'll have it up on the My World Pod social account. There's a famous vignette that was done in 1979, I believe, on Memphis TV. And I think it was shot in your dad's basement. Hulk Hogan doing the big pose down, friend of the show, Michael St. John, doing the voiceover. He is the Hulk, just running through his different dimensions of height and weight and this big a bicep and that big a fist and that sort of thing. When was the first time you remember meeting Terry Bollea?
Oh gosh, meeting him. Oh man. To get into that Michael St. John clip, you know, back in the day, there was 3/4 inch tape. So that's a 3/4 inch wide tape. And that is something that, you know, in my dad's basement at 110 110, the landings, that was his street, right around the corner from me where I'm at now. But down in his basement, there was a bedroom, there's a game room, but he sort of had I'll call it a very small studio where he had a backdrop and cameras on. That's where they shot that. But I can remember, you know, the room off to that is where my dad showed me, God, and I'm 10 years old, 11 years old. I don't know, young. So we shot that in 80, right?
79, I think.
Yeah. So I'm 13 years old, but I can remember being able to pull the tapes in and out. And I watched that thing over and over and over. But the first time I ever had a real conversation with Hulk, man, this is jarring my memory, Conrad. You caught me. So it maybe be a hello in the territory, but no conversation. Again, he was a heel and I was the son of a babyface. Yeah, you know, I wasn't around him. I guess you'd say it'd have to be at a WWF event as things got rolling. And when I say that, late 80s, early 90s, I don't even know the first time, but it wasn't any event that like jumps out in my mind. No.
Your dad's an old territory guy, and of course he's going to be helpful when Mr. Bollea is trying to get going, and then he becomes the biggest star in the history of the business. But when you would have conversation with your dad about Hulk Hogan, what was he saying? What did that sound like on his end?
That's a good question, because it was, and my dad always, and you know, in the conversations with Conrad, I'm sure you got the gist of it, is I think he's teaching by nature, even though sometimes he doesn't even, maybe not even aware of it, but it was, he always wanted to point out that, you know, again, I'm an 18-year-old kid or a 19-year-old kid, you got to listen. You have to be crafted. You have to know when to turn the red light on. I mean, he always used the Handsome Jimmy Valiant analogy. Handsome Jimmy Valiant is the most laid back, cool cat in the world in the dressing room. But when he came through the curtain and the light was on, he became handsome. I mean, and everything. And the same with Hulk, that Hulk was a guy that, you know, had been in Florida and, you know, been through, you know, a couple of different really early in his career, but, you know, I don't know how many guys Jerry Lawler, and I don't want to say took under his wing, but I mean, you name it, Hogan, I mean, the Road Warrior pop up on the pile drivers, you know, the no sell, I mean, Undertaker. Jerry had a way with teaching guys, Jerry Lawler, and my father, the same way, that we've got to take, and I don't want to call them greenhorns, but we got to take young talent and we got to make them into stars. So he would always say, when Hulk Hogan, and this is a story, I think my dad co-signed for a car for Hulk back in the day. I mean,
Wow.
did he tell you that story?
No.
On any of it? Yeah. He co-signed for a car, and Eddie Marlin, and, you know, again, my dad getting into different, he'd go through, I'm owning a car lot, and then anyway, but yeah, he co-signed for a car for Hulk. Just different stories about guys that come and then they go off to Vern in Japan. I guess it's the whole maturation. It's the whole talent development. And he hammered that on me, not just about me and my development, but he said the magic of the business is creating talent. That is where the lifeblood is. And it all starts with, look, it's easy to make money off a guy who's already an established star. The real secret sauce is taking undeveloped talent and developing them into box office attractions. If you can learn to do this, you'll always have a job in the business. And that was really his mindset. And he did that because when you break down the territories, Nashville, Memphis, Huntsville, Louisville, and all those, they're not big population centers. We didn't have Charlotte, Richmond, as far as, we didn't have a Dallas, San Antonio, Houston. We certainly didn't have Boston, New York, all that. So our gross houses, people left Tennessee often to go on to greener pastures. And then when WCW was cooking, Taker and just all the different guys, of course they're going to leave for that guaranteed money or more. So there was a high turnover of talent. Me and Mick, just this weekend, we talked about him coming down and him sending the promo pictures, but people came to Tennessee in so many different ways to get their start. And so my dad played the hand that he was dealt and learned through the years with Roy Welch and just on and on, how to develop talent. So when he had the conversation with me about Hulk was a big dude from Tampa that could play the bass, but man, you've got to make him into, that's Terry Bollea. You got to make him into the Hulk. Just that character.
All right, let's run a timeout right now and give you a heads up. Attention sports bettors. Has anyone ever given you $1,000 before? Well, Jeff, our guest at this time, is trying to do just that. Welcome to the program, the king of Vegas sports gambling and America's odds maker. It's Wayne Allen Root. Wayne, how are you?
Hey, Conrad. Hey, Jeff. I'm not trying to give you $1,000 free. I'm giving you $1,000 free at vegaswinners.com. That's my website. And I know so many people in the wrestling world love to bet on football. It's an American pastime. It's now legal in most states, a majority of American states. And guys love to bet on football. But I know people get skeptical and cynical. So even though I'm the best in the world, the media calls me the king of Vegas sports gambling, even though I've assembled the best team ever, 21 great sports handicappers at vegaswinners.com, and you have 21 heroes to choose from who all are very good at what they do, I still wanted to give away $1,000 in free winners at vegaswinners.com to make everybody come, register, and do their thing.
Yeah, it seems like you've got it all over at vegaswinners.com. You've got free picks, you've got the best bets, and you're doing it every single day, not just yourself, but 21 champion sports betting experts. Dude, this feels like a deal that's too good to be true. It's fully automated. It's completely private. You'll never even speak to anyone. So go check it out. Get $1,000. Are you listening to that? It's vegaswinners.com. Just log on to vegaswinners.com. That's vegaswinners.com. What was your dad's relationship like with Hogan later in life? I mean, we haven't talked about it a ton here on the show, you and I, but recently we talked about how your dad got a consulting gig with WCW, with Eric Bischoff during Eric Bischoff's regime. And when I sort of pressed and assumed that maybe it was a JJ Dillon suggestion, Eric said, no, it was Hulk Hogan's idea.
Yeah.
And that sort of put me on my heels like, wow. And
Yeah.
I thought a lot more, not that I ever thought less of him. Hulk Hogan's the reason I'm doing this show. I became a little Hulkamaniac, and that was my introduction into wrestling. And here we are. But I would have not imagined, we don't hear about that thoughtful side of Hulk, that, hey, let me, give props to a guy who was important to early in my career. What was the relationship like in later years with Hogan and your dad?
And I think a lot, not just Hulk, but others. I think Hulk respects my dad, knew that the talent he was when he arrived in Nashville and the talent he was when he left and the things that he learned and all that. So, Hogan took it with him. But in Hogan and others' mind, Jerry's promoting Tennessee or Jerry's promoting USWA. It was, he's doing his thing. I've moved on. Whether it's greener pastures or more money or not, Jerry promotes in Tennessee. He's got a successful TV show, blah, 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 blah. And then as time went on, oh, okay, so Jarrett goes to work for Vince. Okay, that makes sense. Well, then I think Hulk found out or understood, hey, man, there's an opportunity to get this brain. It's 20 years later. I don't know how it operates, but I know at one time he was rocking and rolling. So hats off to Hulk, but they always had a very good relationship. And my dad kept that with Savage and, you know, the legendary stories about payoffs and this and that. But my dad always kept there was a very healthy respect, whether it's Hogan, Savage. I mean, I remember Joe, Animal Road Warrior, him having conversations, and I really had no idea. I mean, Sting will tell you to this day, you know, him and Jim drove cross country. That's a hell of a long drive, and walk up the sidewalk on Thanksgiving Day. So just story after story like that, you know, Dad was there in their formative years, and we could go on and on. King Kong Bundy comes to mind. I remember him telling me a story, and Bundy had worked the territories, but, you know, Bundy had give a shout out. Anyway, you could go story after story, but I don't want to say they stayed in touch monthly or even yearly, but there was a healthy respect. And obviously my dad respected like crazy the run Hogan's had, not just Hulkamania, but, you know, Japan and Vern and, you know, Hulk drew a lot of money before Hulkamania and obviously the NWO. So my dad, you know, he's the single biggest box office attraction the business has ever created.
So, hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.